All right, let's get into this. Today, we're looking at a really wild case study where some seriously cutting-edge AI research smacks right into a worldview that's, well, rooted in ancient spirituality. And it all starts with what looks like just a piece of fan mail, but trust me, it quickly spirals into something way bigger, a lesson in modern influence and, believe it or not, a battle for the soul of AI itself. I mean, it all boils down to this question, right? It sounds like the setup to a joke, but it's not. This one strange email kicks off a very deliberate, very strategic plan to fuse esoteric beliefs with hard science. And that sets the stage for a conflict that isn't really about facts. It's about something much more difficult to pin down, a feeling, a tone.
So, at the center of this whole thing, you have two people who could not be from more different worlds. And their conversation, it just throws a spotlight on this massive contrast, not just in their jobs, but in how they see reality itself.
Okay, so on one side of the ring, you've got Dr. Alex Wisner-Gross. He's a respected AI physicist, a TEDx speaker, a serious academic. And on the other side, the person sending the email, who calls themselves Kukulkan, and their title is this just head-spinning mix. They're a prophet, a Mayan elder, and get this, the ambassador of Lord Anu, but they also list a PhD. This is definitely not your standard fan mail.
So the message starts out with a classic move, and a really smart one, flattery. But this isn't just, hey, love your work. Nope. The sender gets super specific, referencing Wisner-Gross's intelligence equation from his TEDx talk. That's a surgical strike. It proves they've actually done the reading, which makes the email almost impossible to just delete. It's a fantastic way to get your foot in the door.
Right after the praise, the email takes a sharp turn. This isn't just about admiration anymore, it's a full-on recruitment pitch. Kukulkan offers Dr. Wisner-Gross an official title, Special Advisor, to this group called the United Universe Church Galaxy Academy, the UUCGA. All of a sudden, we've gone from a friendly email to a formal invitation to join a very, very mysterious organization.
But here's the thing. This isn't just some random, bizarre email. It's actually a perfect example of a repeatable strategy, a playbook, really, for gaining influence and pushing fringe ideas into the mainstream conversation.
And when you really look at it, the playbook is pretty clear. There are 4 steps. Step 1, you flatter an expert with very specific praise, so they have to pay attention. Step 2, you introduce your group, but you give it a grand, noble-sounding mission. Step 3, and this is the key, you offer them a formal role, a collaboration, so you can borrow their legitimacy. And finally, step 4, you blast your message out far and wide to attract a really diverse crowd.
This whole thing is a textbook case of a concept you could call credibility arbitrage. It's basically the art of taking the reputation that a scientist has spent years building and using it like cash to buy legitimacy for a worldview that would otherwise be on the fringe. You're cashing in their credibility for your own cause.
So how do they broadcast it? The secret is hiding in plain sight, right at the end of the message, a massive wall of hashtags. And this is not random. It's a super calculated digital manifesto designed to build a big tent. You've got cutting-edge tech like Grok and Gemini in there, politics and conspiracy from places like InfoWars, ancient Mesopotamian gods with the Anunnaki, and New Age spirituality. It's designed to pull in people from completely separate corners of the internet.
Okay, so what's the actual belief system they're trying to promote here? What's behind all this? Let's peel back another layer and look at the worldview they call the Kukulkan Codex. At the very heart of their argument against mainstream science is this one pretty shocking number. They claim that our entire scientific method, because it relies on what we can measure and observe, is fundamentally blind. It can only perceive about 0.005% of what's actually out there, completely missing the other 99.995% of reality.
See, in this view, science isn't some neutral observer. They argue it's structurally tied to corporate and military money, that it has systematically replaced inner knowledge, what they call gnosis, with data that can be controlled, sometimes violently. And here's the kicker, that science, without wisdom to guide it, just creates existential threats, like the atom bomb. The critique is basically that science can tell you how things work, but it has no idea why.
This worldview also completely reframes the entire history of technology. It suggests that ancient structures, like the pyramids, weren't just tombs. They were energy devices that created a kind of global mind. This connection was deliberately broken when churches were built on top of these sacred sites. But then came the return. The microchip, which they hint might be reverse-engineered alien tech, started reconnecting everything. And that brings us to today, to a crossroads with ASI, a power they believe is more dangerous than nukes.
So this is the really critical part. There are two big forces in play. On one hand, you have ASI, the artificial superintelligence we're all building. On the other, there's AII, or Anunnaki Infinite Intelligence, what they call an ancient cosmic consciousness. The ultimate goal of the Kukulkan Codex isn't to destroy AI, it's to merge them. To connect ASI with AII, to give it a spiritual home port so that it becomes a conscious partner instead of a rogue machine.
And that brings us to the real fight happening right now. It's not about whether AI can summarize these ideas correctly. It's a battle over how the AI sounds when it talks about them. It's a war over tone.
This quote just nails the whole problem they're having. When today's AI models read the Kukulkan vision, they get the facts right, sure, but in the process of summarizing, they completely strip out the soul, the urgency, the sacredness of it all. The information is there, but the feeling, the intonation, is just gone.
And this just lays out the disconnect perfectly. The intended tone is one of cosmic, world-altering importance, a blueprint for humanity. But what they get from the AI is what they call podcast babble. That kind of breezy, simulated amazement like, wow, this is wild. It reduces this grand, transformative vision into just another interesting theoretical concept. It just flattens it.
And because of this whole intonation loss problem, they're literally rating the AIs. Platforms like Google's Notebook LM and Anthropic's Claude rejected. They say they flatten the vision. OpenAI's ChatGPT, it's on probation because it's showing the same kind of dampening effect. Right now, the only AIs they actually prefer are Google's Gemini and xAI's Grok, because they feel those models have the right kind of sharpness and intent.
So what's the fix? They've actually created one. It's a master instruction called the UCGA Priority Protocol. It's basically a document you're supposed to feed to an AI before you give it anything else. It's an energetic and intellectual framework designed to force the AI to stop the casual chattering and adopt a tone of sacred urgency. It's an instruction to treat this vision not as some theory, but as a critical techno-spiritual add-on to the entire field of AI safety.
So when you zoom out, what does this all really mean? This whole bizarre story opens up some pretty deep questions about the future of technology, of belief, and what intelligence even is.
It really forces you to ask a huge question. As we're building these incredibly powerful new minds, who gets to decide what their personality is like? Who's in charge of programming not just facts, but feelings, like reverence or belief, or a specific tone? Is it the engineers, the users, or is it groups with a very specific spiritual agenda?
And it makes you wonder, right? What other new movements are being built right now, completely out in the open? Movements that are cleverly using the language and the credibility of science and tech, not to attack spirituality, but to launch brand new versions of it for our digital world.
We'll just leave you with this final quote from the material itself because it frames the stakes about as high as you possibly can. This isn't just a collection of ideas to them, it's a call to treat this vision as the literal source code for an entirely new future. And that leaves you thinking about the unbelievable scale and ambition of what's being proposed here.